What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday night. It's time for the Baseline. With you, as always, JP and SPG. And we're here for the next hour. We're going to talk about some Major League Baseball news. Live from Utica, New York, Disruption Network. What is going on, SPG?
What's up, JP? So September 23rd, and wow, it is crazy that we're already here at this point where there's only a week left in the season. It just started, literally. It doesn't seem like it just started. It literally just started. And we've got a whole bunch of teams that have clinched postseason berths. We got a whole bunch of teams that are fighting for postseason berths, and we're going to be talking about that all today. September 23rd. You know what happened on this date in baseball history, JP?
I do know. But you're going to let us know, too.
I'm going to let everybody know. So in 1947, before the game against the Giants in a sold-out Ebbets Field, the Dodgers staged Jackie Robinson Day, the first Jackie Robinson Day.
Impromptu celebration.
He was a rookie, and obviously everybody knows the story of what Jackie Robinson had to endure, the huge impact, which is an understatement. I cannot even put into words the impact that Jackie Robinson had on the game, in sports, in culture in general. So on this date in 1947, the original Jackie Robinson Day, his teammates crowded around him at home plate to participate in the ceremony and show their support and solidarity to what Jackie Robinson stood for. So 1947... Huge, important day in the game of baseball. 2007, not as impactful culturally, but we're Yankees fans here, JP, and I got to throw this one in there. So in 2007, Mike Mussina became the 45th pitcher in Major League Baseball history to win 250 games. Now Hall of Famer Mike Mussina.
They're saying moose.
They're saying moose. All right, everybody calm down. The Yankees beat the Blue Jays 7-5, and Moose won his 250th game, and he gave the game ball away despite winning his 250th game. And he gave it to a young rookie who got his first Major League save. Do you know who that was?
What year?
2007.
Ooh, for the Yankees, David Robertson.
That's a great guess. It was Jabba.
Jabba rules.
Jabba rules.
The Jabba rules.
Jabba Chamberlain.
Back
seems like forever ago.
When his ceiling was as high as it was. And
It seems like forever ago, for sure. So 2007, 13 years ago.
Tip of the cap to the Moose, Hall of Famer, the Moose, and tip of the cap. Number 42, Jackie Robinson.
Before we get into the meat of the show, and we have a great show, too.
We got a good show lined up.
We have a special guest here with us. I want to give a shout-out to our sponsor, Delta Lake Inn. A visit to Delta Lake Inn is about more than just the amazing cuisine. They've created a restaurant that incorporates all of the things that you love, and they cannot wait for you to join them. Indoor, outdoor dining in an environment full of history and character. Schedule your family gathering. Reserve a banquet hall for your wedding or other event. Have them cater any special occasion at a location of your choice. So if you're comfortable staying at a familiar location, they will come to you. They will cater to you. It's an experience built on making cherished memories with the ones you enjoy most. Check out Delta Lake Inn. Their website is deltalakeinn.com. Google them. Check them out. You'll find their phone number. Call them. Make a reservation. They'll be waiting for you. And I can promise you that you will be provided with a great experience with outstanding service and food. Delta Lake Inn.
Delta Lake Inn. So, as promised...
Speaking of Delta Lake Inn, we have somebody here with us.
The ridiculously handsome and ridiculously professional Major League Baseball scout.
Somebody who's also worked at Delta Lake Inn before.
Yes, yeah.
Caleb Kotwika. Did I say that right?
Kotwika, but we'll run with it.
Close
enough. That's good enough, man. I mean, listen, I don't think anyone's ever gotten it right. Yeah, there you go. We'll go with that. So, yes, I did work at Delta Lake Inn for a while.
Caleb.
I had to. There I am. I had to offset my scouting venture there for a while with some serving at Delta Lake Inn, and I can second what Gaff said. It's next to nothing. They're very good food. Great place to have an event. Great banquet hall upstairs too as well. So, and Mike's a great guy to work with as well as the rest of the staff. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And outdoor dining there is awesome too, with a nice view of the lake and the dam. And it's fall now too. It is what, the second day of fall, first day of fall, I think.
Yeah.
Go grab
the vernal equinox.
Go grab a bite to eat eat and a drink and sit out on the deck and enjoy the scenery and enjoy the experience.
The leaf
100%.
peepers.
For sure.
The peepers. What's going on, Caleb? Welcome to the baseline.
I have to just go back to Gaff's one of Gaff's moments there. Jabba Chamberlain. What a name. Guy ruined his career jumping on a trampoline.
Pretty much.
Like, it's crazy, man. I mean,
interesting conversation to start the day, I guess, here. But did Jabba Chamberlain really ruin his career? Or was it the Jabba rules?
Or did the trampoline ruin his career?
and that's, I think
trampoline has ruined many a career.
I think you're looking at the guy, and I think you just said it perfectly, JP, is you're looking at the guy that started these rookie rules. Before it was just, hey, come up and you're in the big leagues. You're playing every day. We don't care. You go out and throw 8 innings.
You're
if
an
they
asset
want
to our team,
Yeah.
to our organization right now, and we don't have a better supplement on our 25-man roster than you do.
That's
And
a great
now
point.
You see all of these manipulations of service time happening where guys don't come up until May or June because they have to have the requisite amount of service time in minor league baseball to cost them a year of control or gain a year of control for the organization. You know,
it's a cat and mouse game.
It is a cat and mouse game, but
it's unfair.
It hurts the player as much as it hurts the organization.
Correct.
Because
and the fans.
Guys like Austin Meadows or Chris Bryant is the one that sticks in my head the most as being the manipulating his service time. The Cubs there wasn't a better player on the planet at that point in time at third base, let alone in the Cubs organization.
Yeah.
So the Cubs shot themselves in the foot for 2 months to not bring up Chris Bryant, just to manipulate an extra service time year. That's the guy that's a cornerstone of your franchise, or a guy that's the type of a cornerstone franchise guy, right?
100%. At the time, too, a franchise that was chasing their first World Series.
You already know that
century.
You're going to offer this guy a huge contract, right?
You're going to pay him.
Why not go the Scott Kingery route where you lock him up for 7 years at a very discounted price because he may be worth a lot more? Or in Scott Kingery's case, they might have hit the nail on the head right around there. He doesn't seem to be lighting it up yet, but he can be a Will Myers. He can figure it out and then light it up. And now you got him at a discounted rate because you signed him when he was in minor league baseball.
And you see it with what the White Sox are doing too with their young stars, with Jimenez and Luis Robert.
Sign them up.
Others,
if you've scouted these guys long enough, and and your scouting is really, really good, like you think it is, if you scouted these guys long enough, you're damn sure this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I got to sign him now. If you lose him after those 7 years, you lose him. But you're paying him a lot more than having him under org control, but you're not risking losing him after he's arbitration eligible.
For lack of a better example, but a guy that always seems to get pulled off the scrap heap, a Mark Reynolds, right? So let's take Mark Reynolds, right? Would you rather give 1 year and $15 million to Mark Reynolds, or would you rather see what this kid can do? And that's what they don't do, and they don't weigh that cost value. It's pushed to the back, that cost value. No, we're going to bring him up because of Super. We're not bringing him up because of Super 2s, and that's it, and that's over. And another guy that ran into that same problem this year with the Super 2 status, and they actually, the two people that are going to run into that problem is Clevenger and Plesac. So basically, the way that their suspensions worked is it pushed them back. Plesac is going to have another year of control for the Indians, so he's not going to become a free. He's going to have 1 year later to free agency because of his suspension.
Right. Yeah, Cleveland very conveniently left him down at the alternate site.
The alternate site.
Exactly the amount of time that they needed to do to gain some control. And that's a really good point, too. You bring up like a Mark Reynolds type of deal. Like, are you really saving money when you could be paying, a fill-in guy for 1 year, $15 million or whatever it is,
to strike out 200 times?
Yeah, I mean, are you really ultimately saving money in the long run? And some of these teams, some of these small markets especially, you bring some of these young stars up or these guys with potential that might be future stars, and the jersey sales, in the ticket sales, in having extra concession sales when there's fans, of course. 2020 is an anomaly, but are you really saving money doing this when you're keeping guys down like that? Yeah, your Yankees, your big markets, your Boston. Yeah, it might not make a big difference in the bottom line, but it's to me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if you look at the big picture, I would love to see a study done.
Yeah,
we'll call it the Mark Reynolds study.
Yeah. Oh my God, the guy who just keeps getting contracts, right? And you know who's another guy to our point right now, in a team that, you know, you mentioned the word scouting, my bread and butter. Okay,
well,
you know, so a team that is still very entrenched in scouting is the Washington Nationals. All right, Mike Rizzo's an old school guy. He believes in the eye test. All right, that's what they say, the eye test, not the paper test. Okay, and you take the Nationals. He had no problem bringing Juan Soto from Single A. Quick,
yeah, when he
just
was,
like that.
19 years old,
brought him right
19
up.
years old.
It did because you know what it was about. It's about exactly what you said: the product, the fans, what you're putting on the field, and winning. And what did they do? They won.
And what did Juan Soto do?
He crushed. Okay. You know, I mean, and granted, like you said, so we're gonna push back a year or two of this guy producing for our team in order to keep him an extra year or two to not have to pay him this huge money. Well, okay, that's great. You're probably going to be priced out on Juan Soto anyways. Let's be honest. The Nationals are probably going to get priced out on Juan Soto. Okay, when it comes to free agency. So
yeah, realistic scenario.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of those deals where what are you saving?
You're looking for the next Juan Soto by the time that he's coming up for free. Bryce Harper.
Or
you're looking, Bryce Harper.
You're looking to acquire the next Juan Soto for Juan Soto.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, a great point you brought up too is the Kingery deal. You know, from Trout was kind of the initial on that. You know, my boy Mike. Everybody knows I love Mike. So Mike's my guy. But he was
Mike too.
He signed. Yeah, it's hard not to, right? He signed a deal, a very club friendly deal too. It was 6 at 96 when he was very young. I think he was 22 at the time when he signed it, and then he got his big deal. So. Yeah. And he stayed with the Angels.
Juan Soto's going to get his big deal, but I don't think, honestly, from a Juan Soto perspective, I think it would be a terrible move to sign a 5-year deal with the Nationals right now. I think it would be terrible.
I would agree.
He's not ARB eligible until 2025. He's not an unrestricted free agent until 2025. All right? Yeah. For the Nationals, if you know that you're priced out on Juan Soto.
And he's a World Series champion already, too.
And he is a World Series
He's got that in his back pocket already.
You know, if they weren't in the cellar in that division right now, later in the show for our 7th inning stretch when we give out our postseason hardware, Juan Soto might be my MVP. He might still be. I'm not giving it away. Not that he's not going to. Okay?
Foreshadowing.
But Juan Soto might be my MVP. He's in the top 5 in all sorts of categories. Leads the major leagues in OPS, I believe, at about 1165 clip right now.
And he got a late start, too.
He did get a COVID-19
COVID positive test.
He's making like $630,000 this year. Obviously, he's going to hit arbitration. You're going to have to pay him a little bit more. But for the Nationals, why are you going to go pay him? Why would you pay him?
No reason.
When in 2024 or 2023... when he's still under org control, you can go out and get just a crazy haul for this guy who is probably going to be considered the best player in the game, if not a top 5 player. Mm-hmm. So for the Washington Nationals right now, that Scott Kingery deal, it would have worked 2 years ago before Juan Soto became Juan Soto. Mm-hmm. That would have worked great. And then they got him under control. You're paying him. But they got him under control for 2025 anyway.
And he helped win him a World Series.
100% helped. He's the reason.
He's the dude.
He's the reason.
Without Corbin, Strasburg, and Soto, they don't win a World Series.
Yeah. And that's not to discount the heavy lifting that Max Scherzer did all season.
Of course. Let's take Howie Kendrick, too, boys. All right. Yeah. Howie Kendrick was out there, all right? Never say die Howie Kendrick, all right?
I'll give you Howie Kendrick.
The more and more that we allude to former Halo wearers.
Oh man,
we might be revealing secret identities here.
Yes, I'd say okay. Yes, I am a former pre-COVID part-time employee of the LA Angels. So it was I was with them for about 6 years. I was on the amateur side of scouting, which is high school and college kids. I still do a little freelance kind of stuff, I guess you would call it, for other clubs now. I have a lot of buddies that you know scout. It's kind of that quote unquote brotherhood, I guess we'd call it. So you get a chance to talk to a lot of different guys when you're on the road and in hotels and things along that line. So.
It's a fraternity, right?
Exactly.
It's a brotherhood.
Exactly. You see a lot of the same guys, a lot of guys' families and stuff like that. So It was very, it was really cool. I mean, I got into it because I basically threw a connection after college and stuff. I lived in Cape Cod. I worked in the Cape League. Believe it or not, we've mentioned him. I think this might be the 5th time that we'll say his name tonight. But my roommate when I was on the Cape was Scott Kingery.
I was going to mention it. I don't know. I don't know if JP brought up Scott Kingery.
I was wondering that. I was like, I didn't know if you're getting somewhere here or not.
But we've talked about your experience in getting to know Scott Kingery when he made his debut last year.
Yeah. And Scott was an interesting guy. I lived with, believe it or not, and for 2 weeks we had a third roommate. And he's a pitcher for the LA Dodgers now. He goes by the name of Walker Buehler. So the three of us live together. All right. I was
a fantasy draft since Walker Buehler made his major league debut. I haven't taken him.
He's good, right?
I like to tell people that I was the second best pitcher that lived in the house. So I'll give Buehler one. Kingery's changeup sucked. All right, mine was pretty good. So I say that he was the best hitter though, and I think Buehler's a better hitter than I was. So it evens out in the wash.
So you weren't the worst at any of those.
No. I wasn't going to take that. Come on though.
So what you're telling me is, and in radio this is what they call a segue. What you're telling me is that Scott Kingery, utility player extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Can play all over the diamond. Can't pitch.
No.
You want to know who can pitch?
Eric Kratz.
2 guys this week showed that they can pitch. Eric Kratz, our scout. See, he knows.
Eric Kratz flaking that knuckleball.
Eric Kratz extended his career this week by 1 to 3 years by flicking that knuckleball that didn't move. And Todd Frazier, the Todd father, Todd Frazier came in for the Mets and pitched and exhibited equal talent to Eric Kratz. Is there a spot in the game now for 40-year-old knuckleballers? I'm asking for a friend.
Eric Kratz
is Wilhelm. That's who I'm asking for.
Eric Kratz is such a crazy story. I mean, I remember growing up, my dad and I would make the trek probably 3 or 4 times a week to Sky Chiefs games. At the time, it was the Sky Chiefs. All right, gentlemen. All right, so don't correct my Chiefs here.
No, it's okay. Listen, we have already criticized.
It's the Mets now, right?
We've criticized this name change.
Yeah.
Last year, we threw the Syracuse organization out of the baseline.
Okay, gone.
We threw them. That's right.
You gave him the Angel Hernandez.
We did. We gave him the old heave-ho. All right.
Yeah.
Except the call was right.
The call was right. Yeah. Exactly. It wasn't missed by that much, Angel Hernandez. Yeah. Angel Hernandez out of the baseline again.
Yeah,
you've been out, but
I'll send him 2 on my appearance.
But last year we threw the Mets org out of the baseline because we thought that the Chiefs name that had been around since the 40s should have stuck around. And then I don't even think that it should have ever been named to the Sky Chiefs for those 2 or 3 years either. But
I agree. I do have a black Sky Chiefs jersey though.
Syracuse Mets, maybe the Syracuse salt potatoes.
They tried it. They tried it.
They throw that in every now and then. Novelty night.
Eric, that's so many.
Eric Kratz spent so long in Syracuse when he was with Toronto that he bought a house in Syracuse. Like he actually pitched tent in Syracuse. So Eric Kratz, I remember watching him and being like, this kid, either they're keeping him in the minor leagues, because he's almost 30. They're keeping him in the minor leagues to be that mentor to the next, catching core or whatever. But man, Eric Kratz,
quasi-coach, mentor to these young guys.
He gets to the big leagues and look at him. He's the best. He's the best catcher on the Yankees.
He's on the Yankees. He's playing.
He's the best catcher on the Yankees.
Games in September for the New York Yankees when he's 40. Something.
Listen, can we hold off? All right, on that best catcher on the Yankees theory here.
We can talk about it.
Higgy.
Because that would belong to Kyle Higgy right now. The dude is on fire. Extra base hit, I believe, in 5 straight starts. He had a 3 home run game last week. Something that I alluded to in our post before the game, or before the show, was that we were going to talk about personal catchers. Where do you stand? Because it seems that Kyle Higashioka is now Garrett Cole's personal catcher. There's obviously room on the roster for a backup catcher, right? Yeah. So he's going to be there.
Yeah.
Right? Where do you stand?
You need a backup catcher. There's no
Well,
doubt
if he's going to go out and produce like Kyle Higashioka has been producing, that's okay. If he's going to be Charlie O'Brien and not produce at the plate, where you're taking Javi Lopez out to let Charlie O'Brien catch Greg Maddux, you know what I mean? Where do you stand on personal catching? Both of you.
I mean, I guess I'll take it first because the first name that came into my head in the ultimate personal catcher, I think, in baseball history is one guy, and it's Doug Mirabelli, right? So Doug Mirabelli was Tim Wakefield's boy.
Tim Wakefield.
Absolutely. Speaking of knuckleball, hey, you're really good at this segue stuff, man.
Oh,
you're really good.
Yeah, I tried it out one time, You're
picking it up.
Here I am, yeah. But I will tell you, I've watched the Red Sox. I remember it was a August trade one year, and they were going to make the playoffs. It was I think it was a September trade for Wakefield's two last few starts. They traded Kevin Cash, now the manager of the Rays, to San Diego for Doug Mirabelli to catch Wakefield's last two starts because Cash couldn't catch Wakefield. Now, how do I feel about personal catchers? Not a huge fan. Don't really think it. I mean, I think that your staff should know everybody. When you have a guy like Gary Sanchez, maybe you do need a personal catcher on your team. Maybe you do need to open up that avenue and have that, if he can't catch Garrett Cole, which I don't really understand because Garrett Cole's, probably arguably one of the top three pitchers in the game, not by stat right now or anything like that.
Don't ask Jeff Francisco that.
But, but at the same time, I feel that you have to know everybody because what's going to happen tomorrow? I mean, what's going to happen when you do have to catch Wakefield or you do have to catch Garrett Cole?
What if your personal catcher gets hurt?
That's what I'm saying. Or what if what happens too if your starting guy gets hurt? What happens if Sanchez gets hurt and then now it's we just rolled over the 5-man rotation and he's caught 4 straight games and maybe you had an extra inning in there. Now you're screwed. So I mean, I don't believe it's a necessity. I don't think it should be a thing. I think that your staff should just know everyone, and your staff should just have a full IQ of the all pitches, the ability to catch all of those pitches. But I mean, that's just me. I mean, you could go the other way because I guess people have made their bread and butter on that. Doug Mirabelli called, but I don't know.
I have mixed feelings on it, and I think for the most part I'm good with it because baseball it's a chess game, and your personal catcher
I agree
is a chess piece. And it's a different category when you're talking your Tim Wakefield, Doug Mirabelli versus just your standard non-knuckle baller starting pitcher. Different ball game, pardon the pun for sure, but it's interesting to see, David Ross, another one that comes to mind that was, a personal catcher for John Lester, and among others, for the Chicago Cubs and other teams over the years.
You might be hearing David Ross's name in a little while.
We're kind of throwing out a few names. Yeah. We're foreshadowing a few things.
We're like Cash, Martin Scorsese up in this mofo right
Kevin
now.
Cash got brought up. Kayla brings up Cash. David Ross, maybe a name you'll hear later on. But for the most part, I'm okay with it. Baseball is is much a strategy game as it is an athletic game. What these managers have to do to figure out any advantage they can to win a game. I mean, you see it. We've seen it all over the board with all sorts of different things, whether it's the shift or anything. There are still new strategies being created and being thought of to win in the game of baseball. The opener, another great example of that, how that's taken off really just in the last couple of years. So I'm okay with it. And I am completely fine with people finding any kind of legal competitive advantage that they can to win a game and ultimately win a World Series and cement themselves in history. Look what David Ross did. He
huge.
I consider him a personal catcher. Wilson Contreras and Schwarber catching at one point.
That got David Ross the Cubs managerial job.
Look what he did in the postseason.
He was on Dancing with the Stars. All right, as a personal catcher,
he set the bar high for personal catchers. He was on Dancing with the Stars.
Charlie O'Brien ain't ever been on Dancing with the Stars. I can guarantee
I didn't see Doug Mirabelli on Dancing with the Stars either.
All right,
but have we mentioned Doug Mirabelli too much tonight? By the way, I don't know.
Doug Mirabelli just got like 10 cents every mention. I think right there.
Pay Doug, I think.
Well, he's got to buy those first baseman clubs,
Dave's chiming in too on the subject
Dave.
of personal catchers, and he says that personal catchers are fine by me more often than not, especially in the AL. The benefit of a pitcher feeling comfortable and the positives that brings about is worth the cost of one slot in the batting order, and I agree with that too.
Yeah,
to an extent.
How good your order?
I already went on my spiel about how I'm good with it. It's a chess piece. You take any legal competitive advantage you can get. If that makes your pitcher feel comfortable, it is what it is. To Caleb's point, you damn better well be prepared to have your personal catcher out for a game, whether that's to get another bat in the order in a huge spot, or whether that's an injury or something unfortunate happened. So be prepared, for all scenarios, but, all things in normal, nobody's hurt, you got a full roster, and you can slide somebody like that in on your team. I'm all for it.
And I 100% agree with that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm against having a personal catcher. I just think that so much of the time, I can remember. So Doug, I'll use it again. Here's another 10 cents. Doug Mirabelli. I remember he got hurt at one point in the season, and they were talking about Veritek having to catch Wakefield, and he couldn't get used to the bigger glove. And I was just like, you couldn't get used to wearing the bigger glove? Like, come on, man. That's where I draw the line. It's like you haven't even sniffed a little bit of experience with that. You know what I'm saying? That's where I kind of get, like, I'm not a fan of saying, oh, I need my personal catcher. Well, you have to work with the other guy too. So, but
SPG got up for a second.
I went on a run.
The ghost man on third right now.
Exactly.
Got a ghost man on third. For me, I kind of agree with SPG to a degree. I look at it more from the pitcher's point of view, which nobody here has mentioned really yet. I look at it more from the pitcher's point of view.
Sure.
If that pitcher, you're talking about some of the greatest pitchers in the game ever.
We aren't talking about bad ones. You're right.
we're talking about like Greg Maddux, had a personal catcher.
He was good.
Okay. Yeah. But for that pitcher, especially a guy like Maddux, who's so cerebral, for him to have a guy that's completely on the same page. Charlie O'Brien didn't need to worry about hitting.
Yeah.
Everybody knew he was going to hit 064.
Yeah.
He didn't. He needed to worry about catching a 4-time Cy Young winner.
Yeah.
A Hall of Famer. Probably the best pitcher that I've seen in my lifetime. Pedro, Randy Johnson, right? But Greg Maddux. It's Greg Maddux.
I would agree.
If Greg Maddux shows up to spring training and he rolls into Clearwater, Florida, or wherever the Braves are, all right? He rolls into Gwinnett.
Gwinnett.
And he says, listen, I need a personal catcher this year.
I'm giving it to him. He can have it. Yeah.
So twice a week, like to allude to Dave's point, twice a week, we can deal with that.
We can make it happen. Of course. We can, of course, make that happen. It's good. It makes, if it's going to make him the best he can be, then I'm giving it to him. Come on. Like it's and again, you mentioned it's Maddux, and I would love to tell my off-color story about Maddux, but it's pretty interesting. So.
It's a family show.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's a family show.
Yeah, I heard this from the coach at Lemoyne, so when I was scouting, but it's an interesting one. So, but we'll carry on.
Is that Doug Owens, the coach at Lemoyne?
Scott Owens.
Scott Owens.
No, Steve Owens. It was Steve Owens. It was Steve Owens. Now it's
Doug
a guy
Owens
named.
Is a very good softball player around here.
Yeah. So it was Steve Owens. Steve Owens is now he went to Bryant, and then now he's the head coach at Rutgers.
Outstanding.
Yeah, Oriskany, New York boy.
There's a significant connection. I was explaining this to Trevor Sear. Trevor, I hope that you're tuning in. Trevor is one of the 13-year-old Sear triplets. Mark my words, anybody out there that's listening right now, if they know Trevor Sear, he will be working in an MLB front office. He is 13 years old. 13. Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, this young man will work in an MLB front office.
That's good scouting right there.
That is.
But so what I said to him was, although that we have Dave Cash and we have Andy Van Slyke and Tom Browning and Mark Lemke, all right, we have our history.
Archie
Cianfrocco too. We have our history of players that came from out of here.
Yeah.
And I've seen many good players that if they were in Florida their whole high school career, Matt Devins is one that pops into my head. Kevin Green is another guy, simply the fastest player I've ever seen.
I've heard legend of Kevin Green.
He holds the Florida Marlins spring training camp
Jason Grilly, Syracuse.
shuttle run record.
Really?
Yeah. And has held it since 1996 or when there's literally one of the fastest humans I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
The detractor around here, and we are in central New York, upstate New York, the detractor around here is that they don't play 75 high school games. They don't play 190 games a season.
Yeah.
They don't have fall continuation ball into travel ball into winter continuation ball. They don't have that around here.
We talk a little scouting quick? We can talk
we
some scouting.
can definitely talk about scouting. So the thing is, a guy that's throwing 87 in Florida all year round at 17 years old, he's going to get his ticket punched in the MLB draft, probably in the 25th to 30th round somewhere. Maybe get a draft and follow, okay? But he's
courtesy pick.
The courtesy pick, okay? But he's going to get picked.
Yeah.
A guy with an equal, maybe even above repertoire in New York State is not going to get a sniff, and he's going to go play D1 ball, but he's going to play at Canisius, or he's going to play at Siena. He's going to play in the MAC, all right? That's where he's playing. He's playing the Metro Atlantic.
My highest draft pick is out of the MAC, so from the Niagara University.
All right,
so.
he's going to play in the MAC, but he's not going to get that full. The only full ride he's getting to a show in the South is San Jacinto Junior College. Okay, he's not going to Stetson. He's not going to Clemson. He's not going to Miami. He's not going to Georgia because he's from the Northeast. They don't play the 75 games. So where the connection has been in the Northeast
Showcases
has been to scouts, has been to front office people. And we produce some of the best because, damn it, we can't play, but we can sure as hell watch the game. All right? So we produce some of the best. So without further ado, we're going to get into some scouting with Caleb.
Let's talk scouting a little bit
Let's
here.
do it.
So, to go off your point of I love the Florida-New York analogy is one that I've often talked with people about. So when you're here in let's just talk in Section 3 in Central New York here. I scouted all of New York. Basically, my scouting territory was New York, New Jersey. I used to have PA, then I got cut down, and I was helping my boss. So that was his territory. His territory was PA up to Maine, and then all of New England. That's a huge territory, by the way, to cover in
a lot of construction going on in that territory.
Man. Oh, you already know. To cover basically that in from February 15th, because you're going to see colleges in the South. So we would travel down south to see colleges, all right, or in JUCOs. And then basically your high school season is just quick. It's quick. I mean, scheduling is the most important thing and most important part about scouting in the Northeast. Okay, but in order, as you make a great point. In order to get me out,
I have my moments.
Thank you. In order to get me out to a game in this area, right? I'm going to need to see a guy that is probably batting at least 600 or 700. Okay, in Florida, if I was going out to see a guy, I would watch the middle of the lineup at a school. I mean, here I'm going to see one specialized guy for a high school game. So
and that might be in a whole high school tournament.
Yeah. I mean,
you might only go to watch one guy.
And you drive to one of the schools in New Jersey and watch one guy. Or maybe there's a fringe guy for the next draft. So you're over scouting, you're putting your follow in. So basically, it's very, very tough to you hear a lot of people say, this kid's really good. You go and see him and you give it's a buddy of yours and you're like, I'll go see go see your kid or whatever, and then you go and see his kid and you're like, oh man, like how am I going to break it to this guy? He has no feel, no twitch, nothing. So it's very hard to scout in the Northeast. One of the best tools that I used when I was scouting, and it's still used, was the showcase events. Okay. It builds your list.
Take note out there, high school athletes, Legion ball athletes. Take note.
Yeah.
Go to Watica. I don't even know if Watica's still a thing in the Northeast, but
perfect game show. Yeah,
exactly. Used to be the one.
The Showing your age a little bit over there.
Yeah, I went to Watica. Contrary to popular belief, I'm not just sitting here a talking head. I actually participated in this sport at one juncture in time. Yeah. And Watica, it's like WLAD. It's a lot of Polish.
Yeah. No, that's that. Yeah, I know exactly. I know exactly what you're talking about. But it's a lot of
Caleb Kotvika knows exactly what I'm talking about Polish. Whoa, gee, what a brain buster that is. Anyway, continue.
It's a lot of showcase events. It's a lot of scouting's. And JP, honestly, you hit it on the head. It really is word of mouth. If I talk to a coach or I know a coach, Kevin Green is a guy who I know very well when he was at New Hartford. You know, when he was head coach at New Hartford High School, he had a couple guys that he had me come and evaluate, and I was totally okay with that because my job when I was scouting was to see the mid-level to lower end guys. You know, and when you say lower end, they're not lower end; they're still great players. But my job was to go and see
the long shot guys.
Exactly, your later round guys. We'll call them.
And you find gems in those long shot player pools. You do
exactly. Look at the Welsh kid playing for the Angels right now. You know,
Tom Pye checking in, but right now about Polska Power there. Tom Pye, short for Puchushka, I believe, something to the effect of.
There you go.
There's going to be a lot of Golubkis and stuff eaten after this show. Lots of it. Some.
We should have.
Nazdrovia to all of my Pole friends. Yeah. Anyway, continue, sir.
So in that evaluation process, you're putting your follows in, which then in turn my boss would go and see a lot of those guys. But he's seeing those higher end high school kids, those high school kids that are down in Jersey, or even we've had a lot of them in New York too. You know, city, even upstate here too. You know, that you're going to see those guys. Those are the priority guys. Those are your top 15 round guys. You basically on your follow list. So you know for like you said, JP. Showcase events are where you see a lot of kids, then you build your list, then you see them during high school games. You have to plan your schedule very well. You have to go on basically what you call a run. So I'd go see a high school kid, then I'd go see a weekend series of Canisius, as you said, in Niagara, St. Bonnie's.
The MEC.
Yeah, exactly. All of those schools. And
a lot of people don't know that's D1 baseball.
Yeah, and it's good baseball.
It's good baseball. It's a better brand of baseball than you're going to – but – the thing is, it doesn't compare to D3 short, like D3 JUCO in Texas, Louisiana, Florida.
Doesn't touch it.
It doesn't touch it. Mm-hmm. Not at all. Because a lot of those JUCO kids in the South, they're just going for the 2 years so they can get drafted. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to get I'll get my stats up a little bit. I'll get 3 miles an hour or whatever. Why not go play and win a national title, an NJCAA national title? At San Jacinto, and I keep throwing San Jacinto out, but for the longest time, Miami Coral Gables is another JUCO that's just an outstanding JUCO.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I go play there where I'm going to play the class of baseball that's at the JUCO level, or I can go play at Canisius or Niagara.
And you're draft eligible every year.
And you're draft eligible every single year.
So
exactly.
That's where you see a lot of guys going to community college. And to extend that point, it goes even into the college ranks. You go to see a Herkimer, right? I go and see these guys, a lot of guys that were at Herkimer.
Jason Rathman, excellent D3 JUCO coach right there. He does.
Guys out. You know, all the JUCOs in New York, you go and see them, and you're looking for that guy, maybe that late round guy that you could get,
or that guy that hasn't hit a radar yet.
Yeah, exactly. That hidden gem, that polished gem. But the problem is that they're playing the competition that you have to read very, very deep into skill, and you have to take in a lot of ability and tools, they call them. So if I'm going to go see a guy that's at Herkimer and he's playing North Country Community College, this is the problem I ran into many a times. All right. So you've got a pitcher on the mound that the three of us, if we were in a rotation, would be ahead of him right now. So you got a guy who's throwing meatballs down the middle, with no life, no movement, nothing. And you have guys just popping out to third or you have to see absolute
grounder to short every time.
You have to see absolute domination. It has to be domination against opponents like that, and you have to take that into account. But you can also, when you're evaluating and you're scouting, you take little things that you see, little tidbits that you can take. Twitch, how he fields, where he plants, how quick he gets the ball away. It's the little things that you start to notice in the game, and evaluate and recognize that makes the Northeast, I think, the hardest territory to scout.
Without a doubt. And I'm not a scout, and that's the way
agree.
it seems to me.
And I would imagine that it's even more difficult to scout hitters than it is to scout pitchers.
Really is.
Because the peripherals on pitchers.
You can see that, like you said, you can keep an eye out for signs and certain things that might be special about somebody who's playing against inferior competition. How do you judge that for a hitter that's, hitting against mediocre to
pitching, terrible
mediocre
pitching.
at best?
Terrible
That's putting
pitching.
it kindly.
Awful pitching.
Now, how do you judge
Northeast.
batters?
I mean, you're talking about guys like aces of staffs for some of these Section 3. We're in Section 3 in New York State. Some of these C schools, like Cooperstown, home of baseball, right? But some of these C schools, their aces of their staff are throwing 72 miles an hour. How are you going to judge a guy?
That's giving him something.
To play off of what Sean just asked you, what is one thing in a hitter? Because the peripherals for a pitcher are there. If the dude's throwing 89, 88,
you can see the dominance
as a 17-year-old,
despite the competition. You can see the dominance with a pitcher.
Games, all right? So I'm not obviously a guy that's throwing 94 is getting drafted.
Yeah.
All right? But a guy that's on the cusp, 88, 86, with some good life and some good movement, that's scoutable in the Northeast because you know that if you stretch him out to 70 games a year, that you're going to get a lot more arm strength out of it. You're going to build the arm strength, maybe get him 92, 93, and now he's an asset.
So you're
what's
asking
one thing that you look at in terms of hitting that you know that's a guy? That's a guy I can follow. That's a guy I can look at. And I want to know something that, not necessarily, I mean, the guy hit 450 feet. Obviously, I got to look at that guy. But I want to know one thing that you look at for a hitter for, maybe not in Florida, but somewhere in the Northeast that would say, this is a guy I need to pay attention to.
Laying through the zone. That's the immediate answer. Laying through the zone. So when you're hitting, it's a lot of guys think that you have to be that bat speed matters so
short,
much.
sweet to the ball, right?
Don't want it.
Nope.
Don't want it. I want here, and I want to see the bat path all the way through. Because if the bat path is all the way through,
give me a
and
comp.
There's length. So one of the best guys who has length through the zone is Soto.
Okay.
Soto's length through the zone is like it's not a chop like this, like a straight down from your plant spot down. It's full length through the zone. You can swing as hard as you want. All right, and that's one of the biggest fallacies in baseball. People think in baseball that you have to get up there and just chop lumber. No, it's length through the zone. If your bat is here and it's going through the middle of the zone, in the middle of the zone, in the middle of the zone, in the middle of the zone, and I'm finishing here, well, the ball, you're going to hit the ball through there. All right,
A-Rod comes to mind.
A-Rod is a very good
love
example.
Him or hate him, like at length through the zone with A-Rod.
I love A-Rod too. You have to watch. This is something you see. This is something you see when you evaluate a hitter. You watch his first. My kind of tendency was to watch his first at bat. All right, see how he, his tendencies, what he does. You're kind of checking the boxes in essence. Next at bat, I'm watching him from his open face side. And now, when I watch him from his open face side, so if he's a righty, you're watching him from the right field line. All right, so you're seeing him straight up. It's also timing. It's connection. Elbow knee connection is another big important thing. So when you're hitting, everything works on. It's called the rubber band. So when you're hitting, your back knee, I was a right-handed hitter. I was a horrible hitter, by the way. I just learned. I learned hitting. So take this as it's actually a thing. I know what I'm talking about. All right, but your back elbow and your back knee. So for a righty, it's your right elbow and your right knee, and your left knee and your left elbow. They're connected. It's called the rubber band. And so when you're moving, your knees are moving as well, and you're swinging. So that's one of the biggest things I look for, I think. And you can't beat physique and fitness and the stature of a guy. That's one. I mean, JP, you asked 88 to a guy who's 86 to 88, right? If he's 6'7", or 6'5",
I'm drafting him.
I'm going to watch him. Taking him. I'm throwing.
What if he's 5'4"?
If he's 85, 88, and he's 5'4", I'm out.
Yeah. So you would have been out on Davy Garcia.
Yep.
Yeah,
I would have been.
Right. And so that. If that in and of itself doesn't describe to you how hard the scout's job is, because you would have passed on a guy that so far at the major league level has been an absolute stud.
Dominant.
And in the minor league level was so dominant that it led every professional analyst to question, can he do this at 5'10" or whatever he is?
Mm-hmm.
So in high school, were you a scout 30 years ago, 40 years ago? You're watching a young Greg Maddux. If you're applying these metrics,
correct,
you're out on Greg Maddux.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yeah, you are.
And that's a travesty, but you don't know that. So there's a lot to be said for scouting because somebody scouted Davy Garcia.
Yeah.
Now, Davy Garcia is not blowing people away, and it's funny to say that in 2020 where a guy's throwing 93 consistently and he's not blowing people away.
Yeah.
Right? We don't look at him as a flamethrower. We don't look at him as a fireballer. We look at 93 as an average major league fastball in 2020. 1980, he's Roger Clemens.
Yeah.
Right? But in 2020, he's just a run-of-the-mill guy, and now with his 5'10" stature, you're out. The durability factor, immediate, first and foremost, is that durability factor, and can I sign this guy to this long, huge contract when it's, he's just a small guy?
Yeah.
But if we reapplied that, or if we ex post facto apply that mentality to every draft from 1960 on, we're gonna lack the Greg Maddoxes of the world.
Absolutely.
Nobody's gonna draft Tony Gwynn. Nobody, because they're athleticism and body, and nobody's gonna draft that guy. They're gonna look at him and he's gonna be a draft and follow. It's the best hitter ever.
Yeah.
In terms of making connection and seeing the
100%.
ball. Like.
Do you know?
That's why it's not
scouting. It's not an exact science.
It's
Exactly.
impossible, or else the best baseball players in the world would always be the ones at the top of the list,
and they'd all be 6'4", and
there would never be draft busts. There would never be anything like that.
The greatest thing I ever heard when I was scouting, and then we can go from there. But the greatest thing I ever heard from scouting, I sat for 3 games with Tim Wilkin. Tim Wilkin is basically the Babe Ruth of scouting. All right, he's the GOAT, right? So Tim built the Expos. He was with Gordash when he in Toronto for the Joe Carter years, and then he went from there. He went to Arizona, and then he was Theo's guy. All right, when he built the Cubs. So Tim said to me, he sat down. I watched 3 straight games with him when I was on the Cape. It was unbelievable. It was one of the coolest experiences.
Yeah, it's got to be just out of body experience. Am I really sitting here with Tim watching a baseball game?
Crazy. Tim Wilkin is the scout. Like, he is the dude, right? And we were talking, and he goes, I'm going to give you the best piece of advice. He said, if you stick with this the rest of your life, he said, don't do it. He said, I'll give you the second best piece of advice. He said, when you think you know everything about a player, or you think you know everything about this game, the game of baseball, retire. And then he said, I'll give you the third best piece of advice. And I was like, keep it coming. You can go 20 deep here on me if you want, right? He goes, if you have a 40-year career in scouting, and I hope you do, he said, if you have a 40-year career in scouting and you have 8 guys make it to the big leagues, you had a wildly, wildly successful career.
Nice. And you're betting considerably less than a Hall of Famer there.
Yeah.
You're betting like 1 for 1,000.
So... And right now I've had
and that's over 40 years.
Yeah, 40 years.
Yeah.
And to wrap up scouting, I've had 13 guys drafted that were my guys. My highest pick was an 8th round pick out of Niagara. It was a money saver pick, so meeting our draft pool, we had to save money, blah blah blah. But I have one guy that I think will make it to the big leagues.
Excellent.
Maybe. And he's not at the alternate side. He's at AAA.
We'll be popping bottles that night.
I know. He's a Niagara boy.
Listen,
Can you share a name, or are you gonna hold?
His name's Daniel Procopio. He's a right-handed pitcher from Niagara.
Heard it here on the baseline first, folks.
Someday I hope he's
my
on
guy.
my fantasy.
If there's
team.
a guy that I think, I will also tell you too. I was in another name that would be recognized in the baseball community that I was had a hand in drafting was Mike Trout's brother-in-law.
Awesome.
So who has since passed away.
Hey, Dave,
he's a guy.
Are you scouting Mike Trout's son yet?
Oh my God, that kid's gonna be insane.
Bet. His name is Bet. So. All right.
Yeah.
He's already got a BB Ref page. Hey, Dave checking in with some few former top MAC players.
Some big names.
Not to, because I'm going to read these anyway because it's a really good story and it applies anyway. It's the Mid-America Conference that Dave has listed here, and that's an acceptable mistake because there is two MACs. The Metro... the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference is Canisius and Siena.
MAAC.
And the MAC is the Kent States and Miami of
still
Ohio.
Some big names, though,
still some awesome names, and it certainly applies.
University
We're
of Buffalo
talking
program.
Northern...
Thurman Munson, Kent
Northern
State.
baseball.
Bill Doran, Miami of Ohio. Mike Schmidt, Ohio University. Chris Hoyles, EMU. Scott Fletcher, Toledo. Oral Hershiser, Bowling Green. Bob Welsh, I don't know what is Eastern Michigan. I'm sorry. EMU.
Chippewas?
It was the Chippewas. Yeah. Or is that Western Michigan?
No,
or is that
Western
Central
Michigan. Western Michigan's the Broncos. I know that.
Charlie Liebrandt and Kevin Tapani. Some names I haven't heard in a while.
Kevin Tapani of Central Michigan.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Bandick. And also, he is checking in. He says that 100% Polish is the baseline backup crew. And that would include Caleb, Tom, and Dave. 100% Polska. So Polska power. Nazdrovia, my friends.
And Dave did put a link up to Daniel Procopio. Is that how you say his name?
Procopio.
Put up a link to his minor league baseball page for anybody that is curious to check that out.
Procopio's my guy, man. I mean, that's my bread and butter right there. He threw 100 his first season in rookie ball. So
I'm rooting for him, man.
Yeah.
Hey, just to touch on one thing that we did touch on in our post to begin with, we have a superstar that he went on the shelf earlier in the season, and it turns out now that he has to have Tommy John, and that's a very old superstar to be having Tommy John. So, of course, I'm talking about Justin Verlander. Earlier in the week, it was announced that Justin Verlander is set to have Tommy John surgery.
And he was preparing to come back. He was throwing simulated games, and
he's decided to go.
He was about to throw another one, and they announced that he was scratched from his simulated game. And then later in the day, which was, a couple days ago? I think 2 days ago. Beginning part of this week, Sunday or Monday, they announced that he was going to be having Tommy John surgery. It'll be really interesting to see how his post-TJ career goes, considering how he is 38 years old.
We do have a record.
But that's not even close to the record. We were talking about this before we went on the air.
So Jamie Moyer, as you baseball fans will remember Jamie Moyer, an outstanding, stellar career. He had a stretch there. He had a stretch there where he averaged 15 wins a season. He's about 100 games over 500 for his career. He's got
100 years old.
269 career wins. Doesn't touch. I mean, Jim Cott played for a long time too. Jim Cott's got maybe 290 wins, but he's got like 15 Gold Gloves, something like that. So let's not talk about Jamie Moyer as being in the Hall of Fame prior to putting
Cott not being in the Hall of Fame is robbery.
Jim Cott.
It is.
But aside from that, Jamie Moyer had Tommy John at 47 and then came back to win 2 games with the Colorado Rockies at 48.
2 games. I like how he was so determined
to win
to have Tommy John surgery, and he was not going to go down like that. 40. What was it? 48. You said when he had Tommy John surgery.
47 when he had the
47
TJ,
when he had surgery. He was not going to let that be the end for him. He came back and he won a couple games.
But TJ at 47 obviously doesn't compare to Verlander at 38, but in terms of being a superstar and being signed to a superstar contract and being on a superstar team, what does the future hold for a guy having TJ at 38?
I'm really curious to see how this plays out, and I'm looking forward to seeing Verlander come back in, I guess, 2022 at this point. Does this help him? Does this give him a couple extra years that he wouldn't have had?
Is that not scary?
Does it? I mean,
you're talking about a guy that still throws upper 90s and still with that chess play.
Does it help him?
He did the chess play for his entire career where he threw 91 through the first 4 innings. 91, 92, hit his spots, didn't walk anybody.
Jamie Moyer?
No, we're talking about Verlander.
I thought you were going to say Jamie Moyer through 92. I apologize.
Jamie Moyer didn't. He hit 91
no,
once.
he was 92.
He hit 91 once.
He was 92 years
in
old.
91.
His age.
91 in 91.
Oh, man.
That's it. He was throwing the year.
But
Verlander still throws in the upper 90s later in the game. He did it for his whole career. He saved his tank, right? So is this going to be a guy that comes back that much stronger to where his 91 turned to 92, 93, and now he's throwing 88, 89 in the first 3-4 innings, just laying back in the weeds, hitting a spot, mixing speeds? Could this guy pitch to 45?
I mean, he dices. Jamie Moore. Verlander. Pardon me. I'm on Doug Mirabelli, Jamie Moore kick. All right. Sorry about that.
Holy 1996.
Verlander. I think I posed this question to you guys as well. Verlander. I think he'll come back. I think he'll be great. My question is though, is he going to come back in an Astros uniform? Is it time to rebuild in Houston? Is it time to blow it up? Is it time to blow it up and fully sell and rebuild? That's one of the questions that when I saw the Verlander news, I said, is that the kind of the end of his time in Houston? Is he going to have to maybe take a club friendly deal with another team? It's one of those situations. I think Verlander,
it's a valid point.
I mean, you got Bregman locked up on $100 million deal for the next.
Bregman will be around.
He's got 4 more years.
He's going to rot there.
But that's a good point. Do you distance yourself from the sign stealing scandal? Say that a few times fast.
Yes, 3 times.
But do you try to get away from that and rebuild, like you said? I mean, there is still a lot of young talent there. Correa is young, of
course.
Springer's young. Kyle Tucker, great young player.
You're coming up on end deals though.
Exactly.
It's end of deal time with a bevy of talent.
You can get some really good return on some of these guys at this point. They've done it before. I mean, they didn't come from a World Series champion type of roster, but they are one of the maybe most famous cases of successful rebuild ever with what they did to build up the current roster.
Yeah, but they had to have 3 straight 110 loss seasons.
And that's what I mean, and that's what you're looking at again if you're going to rebuild.
That's not due to Major League Baseball's bump that they gave them. All right, they gave them a very big bump in terms of rebuilding. Here, guys, go ahead and tank for a few years because we're changing you from one league to the other. And not to call it the superior league and the inferior league because that's not fair, but it's a whole different and more complex structure for an American League team than it is for a National League team.
It's fair.
Okay? You're shaping designated hitters all the way up through the minors. You're shaping for that. A different management of pitchers.
Yordan Alvarez.
You extended Evan Gaddis' career 3 years.
Yeah. Eric Kratz and Evan Gaddis. Extended.
What is Gaddis doing? Is he retired now or
back as a janitor again?
Hey, I'll tell you one place Evan Gaddis ain't going. Dancing with the Stars.
That's right.
Listen, that is rarefied.
Don't be going all David
for a backup
Ross.
Catcher. Okay, rarefied air.
No, man.
We've been talking a long time, scouting. We got into a lot of stuff.
I went down the hole of scouting.
We want you to come back very soon.
No apologies, man. It's awesome to have you on talking about this
one
stuff.
topic that I want to talk with you, not on this show because it's going to take up a whole show. One topic I want to have you back for is the steroid era. I would love to talk.
Do a full special on it.
Hey, guys, listen, my thesis in college was on the steroid era. So
that's what I want to bring you in. And maybe on that same show, I have a friend, Ryan Monaco. Ryan Monaco owns he's SPI, Sports Performance Institute. And he's an expert.
Gem. He's
an expert on TJ surgery and performance type surgeries. Yeah. I'd love to have him on the same exact show.
Love to hear his take on Verlander, the same stuff.
I would love to. I wish that Ryan was checking in right now and I could hear what he had to say about Verlander. But I would love to have you and Ryan in studio as guests, and we can talk about the steroid era versus the TJ era because that's really seemingly what we're looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually just got a friend request from him on Facebook a little while ago. So
get out of here.
Yeah, maybe he's watching.
I would love to do that. So
I would love to have Ryan come on and talk about TJ, the progression of TJ. Who should have TJ? Who is having TJ that's making people surprised, like little leaguers? You know what I mean? Like
get it early, get it tightened early.
Saying, at 13, let's twirl take this early, tendon out of a cadaver or out of your leg. Yeah. We'll put it into your arm, and now you can throw 175 innings this little league season.
Your 13-year-old tendon.
Yeah.
One of the questions I would love to ask him if he's tuned in, throw it in the chat. The difference between a hitter.
I'm gonna tag him.
A hitter Tommy John surgery. I mean, Ohtani. We'll just say Ohtani.
Okay.
The Billy Epler special.
The recovery time and
glad
just
you segued into
the medical aspect of a hitter having Tommy John surgery versus a pitcher having Tommy John surgery. Because I cannot recall up until maybe like 2 or 3 years ago ever hearing of a batter getting Tommy John surgery. And then all of a sudden you see it, Gleyber Torres.
Non-throwing arm.
Didi had it, didn't he? I mean,
yes,
a couple of years ago.
Non-throwing arm.
Again, yeah, Ohtani, of course, two-way player, but you see it more and more now, and obviously the recovery time is, a fraction of what it takes to get back to being, a pitcher at your full velocity and everything. But I'd be really curious to, have a discussion about that and kind of get his take on that.
Love it.
So last topic before we head into our 7th inning stretch tonight. By the way, our 7th inning stretch brought to you by Connor's Way and Delta Lake Inn. We are going to be giving out our postseason hardware tonight. MVP. I know it seems weird after a 60-game set, well, about 55 games we're in right now. I know it seems weird to be giving out postseason hardware, but we're going to do it. So before we get into 7th inning stretch, I have one more topic that I want to get into.
It would be at the end of May, really, or going
you just
into June
mentioned
right now.
The former GM of the Angels, and I would like to talk about news of a stirring in the Angels organization where they may be committing what do they call it? Harry-Carry in Japan? They may be committing suicide here.
Or selling their soul
to the devil Dombrowski. So let us hear about Dave Dombrowski and the prospects of Dave Dombrowskiing the L.A. Angels of Anaheim.
I mean, you'd have to assume that David Price will be on the team. Obviously that'll be the first. Yeah,
that's one of the patterns, right?
Is that
that's his favorite. That's his favorite.
That's his guy. He did opt out of the season. He's already in L.A. He's got a surfboard. He's got a house.
Bought a house right up there. Yeah, of course.
He's good to go.
Of course.
He might be in Burbank or someplace. Probably not in Anaheim. Daily traffic might give him some fits, but I mean, it's not any different from somebody coming from Westchester
oh my God,
to go to Flushing
worst.
Meadows. You know what I mean?
I flew out for my first round of meetings in LA, and I sat in traffic for 2.5 hours. And it was a 30-minute. It's a 13-mile jaunt.
2.5 hours. You say you got off easy, pal.
Yeah,
you got off easy.
I finally started flying into Anaheim at that point when that happened. But
Dave Dombrowski, two notable things in history for Dave Dombrowski. Dave Dombrowski will win you a title.
There's 3 notable things. I'll give you the third because Dave has provided us with that in the chat. But go ahead.
Perfect. Dave Dombrowski will give you a title for the decade.
Dave Bandich, actually, not Dave
following.
Dombrowski.
He's not listening.
That title.
Maybe he is. I don't know.
Dave Dombrowski will leave you in last place in your division. Yes. Now you can give me the third.
The Tigers called.
Yeah. Or third is
2003 Marlins called.
Dave Dombrowski went to a Mac school.
Oh, wow.
Come on, Dave with the Mac drops. Where'd he go?
Did he go to a Mid-America
He went to Toledo.
School?
He went to Toledo.
Or did he go to a MAC?
MAC.
School? All right, man.
MAC. It's got to be Toledo then.
Where is it, Dave? You got to help us out. It's got to
be Toledo.
The suspense is killing us.
He's a rocket, eh? All right, let us know your thoughts on Dave Dombrowski quickly, and then we'll get into our 7th inning stretch, tip of the cap, and out of the
I do have one more question for you after the Dombrowski stuff, but we'll get there, and then 7th inning stretch, and we'll talk awards.
Billy does still have his job.
And he's Polish, too, by the way. Dave says he's Polish, too.
With the ski on the end, yeah. Epler still has his job, so, I mean, this is hearsay at this point. Artie Moreno is a loose cannon. There's the story, when Jerry DiPoto got fired, the story was that DiPoto and Socha got into it, and DiPoto went to Moreno and said, it's either me or Socha, and Moreno said, how fast can you pack your bags? Anyways, so now we're here. So Artie's running that. Artie Moreno runs the Angels, right? Top to bottom. There's no question about it. So you hire Billy Epler. Basically, Epler gives you Ohtani, which is basically everybody knew going in. Epler had built a relationship with Ohtani from when he was in the 9th grade, and the Yankees would have had him if Epler didn't leave. So thanks, guys. And Epler has not done a great job, I think, since he's been in office. I can say that now because I'm not employed by the team. I don't think he's done a really great job. I mean, what's the Angels' biggest need? It's quick and easy. It's pitching.
Yep, and it has been for a long time.
And it's been since, I mean, Jared Weaver probably.
Yeah.
So he hasn't addressed that. I guess I'll break this news now because I do know this. The Angels were the top bidder on Garrett Cole.
I remember we were chatting about this a little bit.
So
you seemed
insider information.
You seemed convinced that Garrett Cole was going to the Angels, and
I would have bet on it.
I
would have bet on it.
And knowing that you had that inside knowledge, I was also convinced that the Angels are about to sign Garrett Cole. But
I also think that Garrett got to the point where it was, what else is going to be behind me? Dylan Bundy. Julio Teheran.
It's been a really good pickup.
Thick pickup, though. How much weight has that guy gained?
Does he pass the physical test when you're scouting?
Yeah. Never seen him in person, but well played. So to bring Dombrowski in at this point, all right, you're looking for the rebuild and the instant win. I think it's a play to Mike. All right, I think this is the ultimate Mike Trout play. All right, because you have to win. You have to give him. You have to. You owe it to this guy. This guy, he's one of the best people I've ever met in my life, period. And I've spent 4 hours with him one time. All right? He is a gem.
We should do a special on the 4 hours that you spent with Mike Trout sometime.
Oh, my God. It was unbelievable. But you have to put something on the field. You have a lineup right now that should be... In 162 games, it's a 100-win lineup. All right? But your pitching staff is not even close. And there's nothing behind it in the minor leagues. All right? They have lacked drafting pitching for basically since before my first scouting director. They
and that's not just starting pitching too. That is the entire
through and
thing.
Through. It's
the
through and through.
And everything.
It's through and through. And so you're going to bring Dombrowski in, but he what's he going to do? Have the gall to actually pay someone or bring someone else in? I mean, Billy, don't think is the answer. I would get rid of him. All right, but I think there's a lot of smart young minds in the game of baseball that could make this team better, or there's a lot of smart older minds in baseball that could make this team better. All right, and it's not Dombrowski. I don't think Dombrowski is the right hire.
That's just a sell your soul to the devil to get Mike Trout a title deal.
It is,
in my opinion.
It is, and you've paid Joe Madden, and Joe Madden and Joe wants to be in LA. He loves.
So let Joe Madden win you a title. Don't let Dombrowski win you a title. Let Joe Madden win you a title.
Exactly. Let Joe Madden do it. You have an ultimate staff. You have Mickey Callaway. I mean, come on. Like, Mickey Callaway is an unbelievable pitching coach.
Mickey Callaway got a shit deal.
Yeah, he got a raw deal.
Because he would have had a very longer leash. Let's say Mickey Callaway went to the Pirates. All right?
Still there.
Or the Royals.
Still there.
Or somebody like that who seemingly is content with being a cellar dweller each year and having their moments of brilliance.
Yeah.
Although that doesn't fit the Pirates narrative per se lately because they're just cellar dwellers and they don't have those moments of brilliance. And make awful trades, but you know what I mean.
Mickey gets
I'm
the Rangers
shitting on
job?
the Pirates right now, but if Mickey Callaway gets the Rangers job
over
he's
Woodward,
still there.
Woodward,
Mickey Callaway gets the Mets job, and that's the treatment that he gets.
You can't lose, and you can't win.
That's so many. That's so many. The most coveted assistant in Major League Baseball at the point in time where he's hired is hired by the Mets and fired within 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Fired, left for nothing, and now he is on staff with Joe Madden and probably, arguably, the best bench coach or most qualified bench coach in Major League Baseball right now, or pitching coach. But I mean, he's on that bench.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mickey Callaway got a shaft deal with the Mets because he would have been with a team still as the manager. So having him as your pitching coach, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good.
I mean, this team
good, right?
This team probably should have been in the top 3 of the draft order this year.
Well, they should have been in the top 2 of that division this year.
No shit. Oh, sorry.
No, this is in a family show. Kid.
Oh man,
No, we were just kidding about the family show.
Oh yeah. Oh,
That's totally kidding.
Callaway. I think Callaway being there is unbelievable. I think that you can win. I think you're absolutely right. I think you put it in the hands of Joe Madden. I think you bring in. I hate to say it. I think you get rid of Billy. I think you bring in. There's a lot of guys in the Cubs front office that would pay dividend to bring into Anaheim. And Theo would let them go. David Morey is one that comes to mind for me. He is their scouting director currently right now on the pro, and he's actually their amateur and pro scouting director, which is a huge title to undertake. All right. David Morey would be a guy I would bring in. And I think that I think this team is it's LA. You're playing in that market, and I think this team is just a couple pitchers away.
So you're talking. I mean, like
Dombrowski's not the answer.
No. But what
why the fuck would you give him?
No, you're fine. Why the fuck would you give him?
Why the fuck would you give him $5 million a year?
Yeah, but why wouldn't exactly when you can go out and get a Scott Harris? Maybe jumps into my brain quickly.
Yeah.
The Giants, San Francisco Giants, go out and hire Scott Harris, former director of baseball operations for the Cubs, and then really, really, really took the lead and ran with it with the LA Dodgers. Why wouldn't you go get a guy like Scott Harris, right? Dave Dombrowski, yes, the history is he wins you a title, but the history is also that you suffer for the next 12 years.
If not longer.
But do you know why?
If
do you
not
know why?
longer.
Do you know why? Do you know why Artie Moreno's okay with it?
Because he wants a title.
Because Artie Moreno let Mike Scioscia go 16 seasons of mediocre baseball after he won
one title.
And you want to why do you win that one title?
Well, they spent a lot of money for Mike Scioscia too, which is the antithesis of what they've been doing lately. Save Mike Trout. They haven't spent anything.
And Pujols a few years back, but
so one of the biggest downfalls of the Angels.
Signing.
One of the biggest downfalls of the Angels organization is there is 40 rounds in the Major League draft, but when you lose the ability to draft in the first round.
Let me show my age. It used to be 62.
When you lose the ability to draft in the first round, when you lose that ability, that's your guy. Just like the NFL. I mean, think about football, right?
A lot of people
have to produce.
Listen, the NFL, that draft is important.
Yeah.
Nobody looks at the Major League Baseball draft as important because you don't see the guys for 6 years.
Yeah, you're waiting.
Right? But how big has that competitive round A and B been in the Major League draft in the last 5 seasons? How big? It's been huge.
So
Florida Marlins are a prime example right now. The Florida Marlins are probably 4 years ahead of time, finishing second in that division right now. And we're going to get to a reason in Out of the Baseline why the Florida Marlins have a leg up in that division.
Because they have the NL Manager of the Year.
Or it might be one unit on another team in the NL East that has cost them and let the Florida Marlins gain from that. But anyway,
I hear you on that. The one final point I want to make about my beloved LA Angels is losing draft picks. CJ Wilson
cost him a draft pick.
Josh Hamilton
cost him a draft pick.
Josh Hamilton, who Artie Moreno told Jerry DiPoto, get on a plane and don't come back unless you have Josh Hamilton, paid him $8 million a season
Artie
more.
Moreno watched the home run derby at Yankee Stadium, and that's it.
$8 million a season more than
anybody
Texas
else
was going to.
Yep.
And then you have Albert. And there's your 3 first-round picks you lost. And there's 3 first-round picks that could have been in the starting rotation. One of those could have been Garrett Cole.
That's close to $1 billion in total contract value. Close to $1 billion with 3 players. So
if I'm the Angels, Epler's gone. I'm bringing in a young guy.
Scott Harris. That's who I'm bringing in.
David
I'm bringing
Morey,
in Scott Harris, a guy like that. That's
David
it.
Morey, one of those 2 guys. I'm bringing him in. I'm keeping Joe, and we're winning a title in 3 seasons. Less than 3.
Yeah. Not the J-Lo, we're going to win in 10 years. That's so many.
Less than 3.
All right. Speaking of that, so many, let's get into the 7th inning stretch now.
Before we do that, one last thing.
Yeah,
we can keep this pretty quick, but this has been a hot topic, and it's something that JP and I talked about at length in our first show. Yeah. And I want to get your take on this. Is the Fernando Tatis swinging? Swinging 3-0 when they're up 7 runs.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, why not?
Let the kid swing.
Is that not ridiculous?
I'm all in. It's a game. Listen,
I'm more critical of the pitcher in that.
This is a hot topic for me. If you're gonna tell some guy that he can't go up and do his job, then
then don't criticize him for maybe
you have no place in baseball.
Not hustling to first base.
No place in baseball.
Major League Baseball has this chronic problem with not marketing its stars. Mike Trout is incredibly undermarketed for how amazing, one of the all-time greats. We can go on and on about Mike Trout. But then you get this kid, this 21-year-old kid that's coming up and doing these exciting things.
Swing the bat.
You want to show that off. You want to celebrate that stuff,
If he's still swinging the bat,
Jace Tingler?
He's gone.
Here. Chris Woodward?
You're out of here.
If he's still swinging the bat, then there's still game to play.
Yeah, and
that's my point. There's still game to play. I've seen teams score 12 runs in an inning.
We've watched it this year since that game. We've watched comebacks of that big of runs.
That's bullshit.
Since that game.
And Tingler, not to go to his defense.
Get your guy, man.
Not to go to his defense.
Guy.
Thank you.
I don't care. Listen, if he charged the mound with his bat and smacked the pitcher in his head, if I'm that guy's manager, I'm going to his defense in his press conference.
Get your
it's
guy.
about the boys. Don't lose your locker room. You want
to take Fernando Tatis aside and say, hey, you missed a sign there, and you put a little egg on the face of me and the organization, so think about it next time, or whatever the hell you want to do.
There's a manager's office for a reason.
Take him aside.
There's a manager's office for a reason.
You don't do it on that media podium and throw your dude under the
dog
bus.
Shit. That's dog shit.
Jace Tingler, you're out of the baseline, man.
Yeah, get him out of here.
Sorry,
Fuck him.
Out of here again.
Yeah.
Out of here again.
Get out.
He's gone.
Chris Woodward too, but
I had a manager.
Jace Tingler's gone.
My manager in college. He
might have been my manager of the year this year too.
I made a very bad decision. I hit this guy. I hit a guy almost in the neck, and it was a bad decision. And he pulled me from the game right after that. And he let me stew. At the end of the game, he never said a word to me during the game. He took me in the office. And that's how you handle that.
That's a leader.
Don't put your guy on the ropes in a
public
press
blast.
conference. That is dog shit.
Caleb Kotwica. Still a better pitcher than Scott Kingery. Take it out of the game, hit a guy on the neck.
Kinger, I hope you're listening.
Still a better pitcher than Scott
I could not agree more. That pretty much is exactly an echo of what I was saying on our first episode is, out of the baseline, Jace Tingler for how he handled that. Out of the baseline, Major League Baseball for not embracing these young, exciting talents and trying to get the young fans back into it. Mm-hmm. The kids need like a Fernando Tatis, watching him hit bombs. That's what we need.
Watching him hit bombs, but also, watching him lead the league in steals, lead the league in average.
Are you talking about the NL Rookie of the Year?
We could be. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time.
It's time for
the 7th inning stretch.
7th inning stretch.
Stretch it out. We're giving out hardware tonight. 55 games into the 60-game season, and we're giving out postseason hardware, NL MVP, AL MVP, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, and then we're going to give you a little something special.
Wait, so it's not the end of May?
We're going to give you no, it's not the end of May. We're going to give you, in this shortened, abrupted 2020 season, a lot of guys have upped their stock, and a lot of guys have down their stock. So we're going to give you those, in our opinion.
Throw that in there, too.
Throw that in
That's
there, too.
That's a little bonus for you.
So without further ado, it is the 7th inning stretch. SPG, NL Cy Young.
Your NL Cy Young, and we'll all give our picks because I'm sure we'll have some differing opinions, but I'm going to go with one of the most entertaining baseball players in the game, maybe ever, and that's Trevor Bauer of the Cincinnati Reds. What a season Trevor Bauer has had. phenomenal season for the Cincinnati Reds. And like I said, one of the most colorful characters in the game, the best follow on Twitter by far.
It's not close.
The best follow. Yeah, that's
close.
the other award that he wins.
It used to be
eyes.
Doolittle. I used to love following
there's a number
Sean
of them
Doolittle,
out
but
there.
Man, Trevor Bauer is, as I referenced in our post tonight, we are celebrating tonight the king of the trolls.
That's a good way of putting it. But I'll give it to Bauer. He's got a 1.80 ERA.
He wore cleats with trash cans on him this week to face the Astros, okay?
12K per nine. Phenomenal bounce back season. He had an infamously rough go of it at times last year.
Yeah.
With the throwing the ball over center field, which I loved that too.
Bad teammate, bad personality, all that stuff, all that stigma that came with him. But
throw that out the door.
Damn.
Throw that out the door.
Is he good?
Trevor Bauer is easily one of my favorite players in the game. And I used to not be sold on Trevor Bauer with his personality. I used to think of him as a hothead, and I didn't think of him in the same light that I do today. But a lot of the things, and Twitter honestly has a lot to do with it. Him going back to before the Astros thing blew up huge, he was dropping hints and kind of calling some people out back in October, right at the end of October after the World Series last year. And I was kind of questioning a little bit. And as time went on, and you see all this other stuff and you see the story develop, which would have been just a massive, massive story this season had it not been for COVID and the shortened season and no fans and everything with the Astros. And Trevor Bauer, of course, NL Cy Young winner in my eyes due to his play on the field, but everything that surrounds that guy about. He loves the game of baseball, that guy. He hates Major League Baseball. He hates Rob Manfred. He's kind of a cult hero. And man, what a season. And Cincinnati Reds, great year that they're having, compared to what we've seen for the last several years. That was one of the teams that you'd been talking about for
2 years.
A few years now.
2 seasons I've been watching that team
keep an eye out on them, right?
And then they go and add Mike Moustakas and Trevor Bauer and Sonny Gray, and I'm like, man.
So I'm giving it to Bauer, and there are a number of great candidates.
That is one team that Major League Baseball, other teams in the playoffs do not want to earn that last wild card spot, because you have to face that three-headed monster in a do-or-die scenario. You got to face Bauer, and you got to face Sonny Gray, and you got to face listen to me, blank on Luis's name. Castillo,
yeah, who's had a rough year, but still. Raw talent off the charts.
Yeah, off the charts.
Off the charts. So I'm going to give it to Bauer, and there are a number of worthy candidates. This is probably the hardest one for me.
That's why I started off with it, because it was one that I had a question on too. I'm going to give it to a different guy, and under normal circumstances, man, I wouldn't even do it. I wouldn't give it to him over Trevor Bauer. Not at all. But in this abrupted season, and based on what I've seen, just from the team that he plays for, and we're going to do a continuation here of That's So Medi, but Jacob deGrom. And here is my That's So Medi for the week, okay? Like this isn't a natural occurrence all the time. Jacob deGrom, 9/21, 2 days ago against the Rays. MLB leaders, the Rays. All right, I'm sorry, AL leaders.
Yeah,
the Rays.
Actually, the Rays. Okay. Not to interrupt your thought,
that's fine.
But the Rays are about to clinch the AL East.
All
Probably give them about 15 minutes. They're going to be AL East champions.
7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, 14 Ks. Loss. Okay, so that's so many. And also, Jacob deGrom, step on up, because I'm giving you the hardware. Yeah, your team finished horrible, but I can't fault you for that.
The hat trick.
I cannot fault you for that.
So you're giving him the hat trick. That'd be 3 in a row, right?
Jacob deGrom, he's 4-2, 2.14 on a terrible Mets team. He's got 11 games started, 94 strikeouts and 63 innings pitched. His whip is .92. He doesn't even give up a base runner an inning and almost has a losing record every year. I'm not discounting Trevor Bauer, Sonny Gray, Yu Darvish, any of these guys that have gone out and dominated this year.
Craziest thing about
I'm giving it to DeGrom.
Is that for as much as we rag on the Mets, and yeah, they're not a good team, but they're usually hovering around 500. It's not like they don't win games, but the best pitcher in the game probably for the last 3 years,
without question, for the last
they cannot
3 years.
support the guy.
Can't.
They win games. They win 80 games a year.
2-1
high
every
70s,
single
80
time
games a year.
Jacob deGrom pitches. And last year we had a funny thing going because the 2-1 losses, DeGrom had the only RBI in like 3 of those games.
Yeah.
All right. So the team is like a total lack of support. But for me, you've already given it to Trevor Bauer, and I support that. That's great. But for me, NL Cy Young, the three-peat, Jacob deGrom.
Yeah, like I said, this is the hardest one for me. And you can't argue with Jacob deGrom. I think either of those guys,
Caleb?
worthy recipients.
I'm going to throw the third guy in there. You mentioned him just a second ago, Yu Darvish.
Ooh, good.
You know, a guy like Darvish
Speaking of bounce backs,
put in a spot where he's behind the 8 ball in Chicago. He's not probably coming into the season the best pitcher on that staff, but his numbers, his K to walk numbers are through the roof. All right, I think he's walked like something like maybe 12 guys this season or something like that. That's a lot what I look at, that differential. I mean, I almost say that to play devil's advocate against DeGrom because I do love DeGrom. I think DeGrom's been unbelievable with the numbers he's put up, but I think Darvish makes a quiet but solid play for the Cy Young as well. So.
Okay. Wow.
I like it. And there are a number of other
different
guys.
awards.
I'll throw a dark
amazing.
horse in there too. Corbin Burns. What a year Corbin Burns has
I've
had.
been on Corbin Burns for the last 3 years.
And I'd put those other 3 guys in front of him, but he's certainly in the conversation. He's probably a fifth guy in that.
You guys want to sweep the next category so we can get on with the show? And
are we going to do AL Cy Young?
Let's just do AL Cy Young. Everybody that's not voting for Shane Bieber, raise their hand.
I'm going to give it to Garrett Cole. Just kidding, Dave.
Biebs.
All right.
Dave
Biebs, my guy.
All right. So
it's Biebs. It's the Biebs.
All right.
Don't call me
There's
Justin.
a unanimous one. NL MVP.
You want to go first, Gaff, or you want me to go? I mean, you could go Freeman, but I'm going to go a different direction.
Man, this is another tough. This is probably the second toughest one. Why don't you go ahead?
No, you go first. I want you to go first.
Right.
I want to hear you.
All right. I'm going to go Fernando Tatis.
That's where I was going to go.
and Freeman it's for me. It's between Freddie Freeman and Fernando Tatis. The fact that San Diego is a postseason team this year, and
finally
in a good one. Unfortunately, it looks like they are losing Clevenger. Like he got hurt today after the first inning. They pulled him, and it looks like it's going to be enough to probably keep him out of the postseason. San Diego's an exciting young team, and what Tatis has come and done. Obviously, huge pedigree. Huge potential, had a good season last year, but I don't think anybody saw the jump that this kid made this soon coming. Everything he's done.
I'm going Tatis too.
Good defensive player too on top of it. So you're not talking just offense. You're talking somebody who steals bases, who hits for average, who it's the entire 5-tool package with this guy. And what an exciting young player to watch. I'm giving it to Tatis. With Freeman is a very, very close second.
All right, perfect. You guys go Tatis, I'll go Freeman.
There you go.
All right, because I was going to go Freeman anyway. And now listen, if we had this discussion 2 weeks ago when Fernando Tatis Jr. is literally leading the NL in all of the important stats, right? He's leading in all of them. I would have handed him the award, no problem. Freddie Freeman if he's not the most quiet
Yeah, he is the most quiet.
superstar, I mean superstar.
I wish
like,
I had my bell from the D-line.
top 3 or 4 hitters in the game over the last 6 or 7 years.
And a
right?
division winner for 3 years. It's not like he's flying under the radar on a bad team.
But he does. He does. He flies under the radar. I'm going to give it to Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman, first off, even in this abbreviated season, he deserves his just desserts. One time in his career,
another guy
he deserves it.
Who started the season off with a COVID absence.
All right, fine. He's convincing me on Freeman now. Okay, all right. I was going back and forth between Tatis and Freeman all day. All right.
And
so
his comeback from COVID too, I guess, is
there. It is. There's my bell. I got my bell back.
So Freddie Freeman's hitting 347. He's got an on-base percentage of 463, and he's got 50 RBIs in 14 games. 12 homers, you know, all the other song and dance, but he just produces as he always does.
He does.
And for this year, for 2020, Tatis is going to have his opportunity to win.
A lot less flash with
some
Freddie
MVPs,
Freeman, but one of the most underrated players of the last half a decade.
My 2020 MVP is from the division-winning Atlanta Braves, and that's Freddie Freeman.
Brian Snitker and the boys.
Let's go AL MVP. Let's switch it over to the AL. We'll segue over to that.
Tough.
AL MVP. It's not tough for me at all.
Go ahead.
Who do you got then?
I got Shane Bieber. I don't care who
double
hit.
in.
I don't care who hit what. The sheer influence that Shane Bieber. Now listen, that's not to say that I didn't consider the Luke Voigts, DJ LeMahieu's, and Jose Abreu's of the league, because I certainly did. Jose Abreu has got an RBI a game. I think he's got 62 RBIs in 55-something games. All right, Jose Abreu, huge year. Luke Voigt kept the Yankees above water when they shouldn't have been. DJ LeMahieu made the Yankees dominant when he came back. Okay? Not giving it to any of them. Shane Bieber, what he has done and meant to Cleveland, now in a 162-game season, I have a very tough time giving the MVP to a pitcher. A very tough time.
Love that.
I do.
I do too.
No matter how dominant they are, I have a very tough time giving it to somebody that appears one every 4 games.
I'll tell you what,
though. In a 60-game season,
in a 60-game season,
Shane Bieber has been the most valuable player, period. And in addition to being the most valuable player, which is really the spirit of the word, and how do we quantify value, really, that's where the gray area means, right? Everybody wants to go to the most outstanding player, too.
The gospel according
to
JP.
That dude had the most outstanding season, too.
Yeah.
Right? So in this era where I couldn't possibly give it to a pitcher over 162 games. 60 games? Most impactful season, most outstanding season, most valuable season. Shane Bieber, AL MVP. Who you got? Caleb?
I'm going to play off your words.
Playoffs?
I'm going to go with Luke Voigt.
Okay.
And the reason being is the fact of what, if you look into, which I don't think a lot of voters really do, but if you look into how the Yankees season went in the trilogy that it was, what he did for that team and how he brought them back. I mean, you're talking about a guy who, probably realistically is maybe the next Mark Reynolds. But,
we've come full circle.
Exactly. We've come full circle in an hour and 45 minutes. But I really think if you're evaluating, like you said, the most valuable player, the player who changed the team.
60 games, it just changes.
It
right?
does. It does.
Changes.
Again, do I think that what I think we would call Luke Voigt's streak, what he's done in the last few games, I think we would call them a streak if it was 162. But I think right now
it's a quarter of a season.
He's given the most value.
Sure, if you look at the pace, he's Voigt has, full season, he's on pace for like 70 home runs.
Luke Voigt has totally. Now, coming from a Yankee fan, obviously,
thank you, Chasen Shreve.
Yeah, Chasen Shreve. And, not to discount that whole trade, because Giovanni Gallegos is one of the better relievers in the game right now. And he came over in that trade as well.
And he just came back.
He was the also ran, the player to be named later in that trade. That's not to discount, but that was essentially at the time, that was a trade for Chasen Shreve for Luke Voigt, straight up.
I would have done it too.
Straight up.
I would have done it.
At the time, Who knows?
So I like Luke Voigt.
Cashman, I guess.
Who do you got?
So I'm going to go with a different candidate.
I love how we're all three different.
I'm going to go with a different candidate, and I'm going to go with Jose Abreu.
Okay.
The Chicago White Sox.
60-something RBIs.
We talked about we talked about Freddie Freeman with his kind of under the radar. Jose Abreu is kind of in that same boat too. The White Sox have just not been competitive, so you just don't. You haven't. You have not heard about the consistency in the production of Jose Abreu over the last few years. It just goes unnoticed. And this season, he's leading the AL in RBIs, slugging, hits, total bases. He's batting .333, 14 doubles, 18 home runs, 40 runs scored. He leads all position players in Baseball Reference's WAR calculation. On a White Sox team who is very exciting, very competitive in the postseason.
Can't wait to watch.
A number of great candidates. Bieber, I think, is a great one. Also, Jose Ramirez.
That was my other guy.
Another very worthy candidate. And,
last night, the walk-off win, all Jose Ramirez.
And Dave has actually chimed in with some of his picks so far. AL Cy Young, Bieber, obviously. NL Cy Young, he's got kind of a Darvish Bauer
mix.
No, yeah, it's like a hybrid, I think, is what you would call it. AL MVP, he's got Jose Ramirez. NL MVP, he's got Freddie Freeman. All great picks, and he didn't think that my comment about Garrett Cole winning Cy Young was very funny either.
Well, so we've given out Cy Young, we've given out MVP. We got to give out Rookie of the Year. We'll go quick through this. We'll give Manager of the Year, and then we'll get into out of the baseline. For me, right now, I mean, I look at the season as a whole, even though it's 60 games. And if you asked me,
tiny season as a whole.
If you asked me 30 games ago who the AL Rookie of the Year was, or even 10 games ago, it was Luis Robert, signed, sealed, delivered, just for the defense he's played, along with everything else he's done.
Worthy candidate, no doubt.
Has had a terrible stretch of about 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And for me, Kyle Lewis from Seattle has overtaken him in terms of AL Rookie of the Year.
I'll second that.
What about
Kyle
you?
Lewis. I got Kyle Lewis,
Perfect.
too.
So Kyle Lewis, go look up his stats. He's
272, 11 home runs, 837 OPS.
He is the baseline's AL Rookie of the Year.
Roberts is a dude. Kyle Lewis is my guy.
NL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, long term, give me Robert.
NL Rookie of the Year. There's 2 or 3 or 4 guys
Lewis.
that could be considered here. For me, it's another guy. I'm going the opposite way of Luis Robert here, where I said, this last little tough stretch has cost him. For me, this guy hasn't been costed by that just because of what his team has done. So I'm going to go with Jake Cronenworth.
I'll second Jake Cronenworth. That was my guy. Cronenworth's my guy.
Okay.
I like Cronenworth.
Consistent.
But just to play devil's advocate, because I think I agree with you guys, but I just want to throw out a shout-out to Alex Boehm.
Oh, okay.
The Phillies' third baseman.
He's been on a tear.
Dave checking and taking Devin Williams.
That's another really good one,
that's
too.
That's the other guy.
All 3 of those guys are worthy candidates. There's really not a clear-cut, obvious rookie.
You're gonna watch Jake Cronenworth for the next 20 years,
and I think he's your rookie of the year. Honestly,
he's a dude.
But I did want to throw in the shout out for Bohm because he has been on a tear over the last couple weeks. And
another Cape guy, my year.
And if he goes, if he continues this over the next 3-4 days, who knows? Maybe he pads those stats enough to take home rookie of the year.
I know who SPG is taking in this next category. I already know. I don't even need to ask.
What is the next category?
It's going to be AL Manager of the Year. Oh. All right, so we can sign, seal, and deliver Bob Melvin for SPG's Manager of the Year.
We know you're going to take Kevin Cash.
Well, I most certainly am going to take Kevin Cash.
We do it every single year.
So let's
do you want me to break it?
Let's just ask Caleb who Caleb.
I know who Caleb's going to take.
Bob Melvin.
The Kelly Greens. They strike again.
Kelly Green.
Melvin.
You let me know why.
Hands down.
All right. Go ahead. Bob Melvin.
He's done it consistently year after year after year after year. This guy has been if you want a team of young guys to go out and just show you what they have, it's Bob Melvin. Those boys love to play for that cat.
Kevin Cash says hello.
Yeah,
by the
so
way.
does Charlie. Hey, so does Charlie Montoya too.
And you know what? We're discounting Mr. Renneria in Chicago.
He's done a
They're
great job.
probably about 2 years ahead of schedule.
And you know
winning
who
that
he got
division.
thrown out by the other night? Angel Hernandez, and I'm throwing him out again for the
out of the
second
baseline.
time
Get
in the
outta here.
baseline. I'm getting him out of here.
Get out of here.
Baseline.
I think Rob Manfred and Angel Hernandez have been thrown out more than
The most
anybody.
times.
We'll have to go back and count it up.
We have.
I'm going Melvin.
We need an intern to go back and count it
Renneria
up.
is an interesting choice for a. He actually may win the award. For me, he's not the award winner per se.
You have to give it to Bob,
You got to give it to Bob.
even though Kevin Cash is your guy. But
They're
Kevin
both
Cash is
awesome.
my guy.
They're
All
both great managers.
NL Manager of the Year. This is a tougher one. Go ahead. NL Manager of the Year.
This is a really tough one. And I think I'm going to have to give it to Snitker again. 3 division titles in a
I
row.
like that because honestly, I'm on the same page as you, but I'm going to play devil's advocate.
It's a really tough one, but I do want to give a shout to Donnie Baseball. And that's all I'll say because I'll leave the discussion up to you guys to name a few others. But I'll go Snitker.
the job Donnie did this year.
With the COVID issues and especially the first week of the season, you get that thrown on your plate, and you got all these players out. I know I took Snitker, and now I'm talking.
No,
I mean, I like. Listen,
but-
I could do the same thing with Donnie to
Who do you
Sicker.
got?
I mean, it's. I'm Donnie.
You got Donnie Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. My original pick was Snitker. I had told you that. And you and I both talked about David Ross.
and there's another one. David Ross was the other
All
one.
right.
Full circle again.
Here's one that nobody's talked about. Who's got the best record in the National League? Who's got the best record in Major League Baseball?
Dodgers.
Who's got the highest payroll in Major League Baseball? Who's second highest payroll in Major League Baseball?
Dodgers.
Yeah. There seems to be a disconnect when they give out this award.
Yeah. Well, you saw it last year with Aaron Boone.
You're automatically disqualified if you have the highest payroll or you're expected to win. But what do we see so often in Major League Baseball? People or teams that are expected to win, they don't win. Dave Roberts this year, aside from all the good managerial jobs he's done with that high payroll all along, they were clear and cut the best team in Major League Baseball this year since like Game 10.
Yeah, so like 4 weeks
They
ago.
separated themselves and stepped on the gas pedal, separated themselves, and then hit cruise control, but didn't stop winning. I believe the Dodgers have started 13 or 14 guys on the mound this year. They've tinkered with that rotation. They've tinkered with that lineup.
Oh, they've tinkered a
They've
ton
seen
with
a
that
resurgence of Corey Seager. They've seen the addition of, an
They lost-
AL MVP.
They lost
came in.
David Price before the season even started due to an opt-out. You know, they traded Ross Stripling. They
Through
traded
all of it.
Maeda.
Through all of it, Dave Roberts has them on cruise control. The best record in the game.
He's convincing me.
He's
talking me into
Yeah,
it.
this is-
He's talking me
60
into it.
games in.
I'm listening.
Okay, so aside from all of the expectations
Yeah.
that were settled with Dave Roberts, he lived up to them, he exceeded them, and he has his team in the best position going into the postseason. So for me, NL Manager, you're Dave Roberts.
If you could name 3 starting pitchers in the Marlins organization, I'll go over to Dave Roberts and I'll get off.
3? I mean,
The injured ones count?
Yeah, no injuries.
Urania. Okay. Sixto Sanchez.
It was a really good young talent.
Oh,
you
man,
are going
he's
to
gonna
be
dominate.
hear that name.
He is going to dominate in the
show.
playoffs.
He
boys.
probably would have
How's
been
that
Rookie
feel?
of the Year.
I got 2. Is that good?
It's
All right,
good
are
enough
we
for
doing
me.
good?
And that's why Donnie Baseball is the manager of the year. in the
Pablo
NL.
Lopez,
Pablo
very
Lopez,
good young
yeah.
pitcher too. But Sixto Sanchez
So,
would have been Rookie of the
awesome.
Year
I love
had he
the
pitched the
difference
entire season.
in all of that. We got what do we got? We got no more awards to give out. We're done with postseason
None.
awards. I want to know.
We got our stock.
Just quickly, whose stock has
Up, down.
risen the most? Whose stock has dropped? And then
And
we're
we're talking
outta
we're
here.
talking
Oh.
about for like free agency purposes, for contract
Yeah,
purposes.
for contract purposes.
So-
I'm not talking about Will Myers.
Will Myers has a
okay?
big contract. Had a great year. His
But he's got
stock's
a big
up.
contract.
Let's
Exactly.
talk about people who damaged their financial outlook.
All right, I'll start. James Paxton.
Huge.
We talked about it 2 weeks ago. Okay, we talked about
Where
him.
is James Pack?
James Paxton is in the
He's
typical place where
probably
the
in-
big maple is.
He's probably in
on
Canada.
the IL.
he's probably
He's
in
on the
Canada
IL.
somewhere.
Well, regardless what country he's in, he's on the IL. Mm-hmm. He cost himself a lot of money,
Yeah.
given that he's left-handed. He throws the ball hard. He moves it. He pitched great in the postseason last year, right? Seemingly headed into a 2020 setup here for a huge 2021 payday. Not no more. James Paxton signs a 1-year deal next year with whoever he signs for. 1 year, 13 mil, 1 year, 15 mil. That's where James Paxton is at next year, where he could have signed 22, 23, 24 million plus for an extended period of time.
Yeah, over years.
Okay? So James Paxton for me, stock fallers, that's the big one for me. And I'm going to stick with the Yankees for my stock riser too.
Yeah?
Yep.
Because you're going to their first baseman.
No, I'm not, actually.
Stock fallers for me.
Second baseman or third baseman. He can play any position.
any arm on the Mets not named Jacob deGrom. Any starting pitcher there. Stock fall.
Okay.
All right. Syndergaard gone. Stock fall. All right. Any of those big name guys that they had. Absolutely stock fall.
Especially when you see the contract Garrett Cole got. You know, how much money have they cost themselves?
Yeah. It's been I mean, I won't give anybody in the Mets organization any credit for anything, but it's been a tough year for those arms in their. I mean, you're talking about guys who have barely even pitched this year too, and they had you know. So I'm out. Yeah, Mets arms. Any Mets arm besides DeGrom, Edwin Diaz, you're in that category.
Yeah, that's another good one too.
All right.
So I'm going to go with a guy that not even Bob Melvin, not even the great Bob Melvin could save him this year, and that's
I already know who you're going with.
That's Marcus Semien.
Marcus
Semien, monster year last year.
Yeah,
monster. He got some MVP
second,
votes.
right?
He got he got MVP votes
third.
last year.
DJ LeMahieu was second.
And
Get it right, Caleb.
And here we are looking at a season where he hit 7 home runs and he's batting 220 something in a contract year. So he'll get paid, no doubt about it, based on what he did last year. And we talked about last show, JP.
He's not getting paid.
What he would have. And we talked about last show the effect that this small sample size is just going to have on some contracts that some of these guys are going to be signing here in the offseason upcoming. And it's crazy. You know, somebody has a bad April and May. They've got 4 months to turn that around, and they could still have a monster season, ultimately, 162-game year.
But they don't have it this year. Not that luxury.
You get off to a bad start, there's almost no recovering from that, you know, and Marcus Semien took a pretty significant hit, I think.
How about stock riser, Sean? Go ahead. No.
No, I was going to go to you first because I know it's going to be Aaron Hicks.
It's not Aaron Hicks. Well, first off, Aaron Hicks doesn't have stock to improve. He signed a 7-year contract at the beginning of last year. A very favorable at $11 million a year.
A very odd contract, admittedly, but
contract.
Somehow Brian Cashman figured out how to make a good deal.
That's fine. But I'm going to go with another outfielder for stock rising, another Yankee
Clint.
outfielder, Clint Frazier.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Amen.
Red Thunder.
Amen. Should have traded him years ago.
You're not going to go with Brett Gardner, huh?
No. One thing that has proven a fact is that in the Yankees' plans going forward, Clint Frazier is a part of those plans. He is not expendable to the alternative site. He is not expendable to Trenton. He is not a guy that needs to sit on the bench every day. The defense was always the knock. Man, for somebody that has watched the majority of 55 games this year, Yankee games, that defense is stellar.
Including
not
maybe
even,
the catch
not
of the
just
year.
Acceptable.
Maybe the
that
catch of the
has
year.
Been stellar.
The masked man.
So,
and he's been clutch coming up with all the injuries.
For me, a guy that's ending his round at org control pretty soon. He's going to come up on arbitration, and decisions are going to be made. Clint Frazier sticks around with the Yankees, I'm sure of it, but he gets paid a lot of money for what his output has been to this team.
The masked ginger.
So stock rising. I went with 2 Yankees, stock falling, stock rising, not to play the homer card, but they just both seem to fit.
They do.
I got Clint Frazier, stock rising. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with Trevor Bauer again. Having a Cy Young quality season.
Not that his stock wasn't already that high.
I mean, it was coming into the season.
The
it was a little
attitude
down,
problem, the teammate problem. How could he react after being traded?
Getting traded from a playoff quality team last year, right before a pennant race. I mean,
I agree with you. Those were big question marks that were
having
answered.
a Cy Young quality season, whether or not it's DeGrom or Darvish or Bauer. regardless of whoever is going to win it. He had a phenomenal season, and he just got himself. I mean, he's not going to get a Garrett Cole contract, but we're talking about a frontline starting pitcher here, and a pretty young one, relatively, and he's going to get paid. And he made himself a lot of money this season. So I'm going to give Bauer the stock up.
Who you got? The scout?
This is a scout pick, right? This is a deep guy. Like I wanted to come on the show.
I already love it.
I wanted to come on the show, and I wanted to pump somebody that I can't get enough of watching him, and it's Trent Grisham.
Ooh,
right?
I like it.
I know he's probably 3 years out from arbitration.
No, but I love that.
But Trent Grisham, this cat can hit,
and he's fast.
He can hit. It's one of the weirdest fucking.
2024. Yeah, you're right. 3 years.
It's one of the weirdest setups you'll ever see when he's swinging. But Trent Grisham is my guy. Every time you watch him, he's exciting. He can steal bases. He can hit the ball. I'm telling you something. Trent Grisham is a guy to watch. In Milwaukee dropped the ball on Trent Grisham.
That San Diego made a nice trade there, getting Zach Davies too in that same deal. That's an underrated move that helped them push for the postseason.
I've always loved,
no doubt about it.
Love Grisham. I love Grisham. He's in a great spot in that lineup, protecting those. He's in that 2 spot in that lineup, protecting those big boys in front, and then you can drop him down.
What an obscure name!
And you can drop him down.
No, I don't mean obscure in a bad way, but I just mean what the average baseball fan wouldn't know. Watch out for Trent Grisham.
Yeah.
I absolutely
outfielder for the San Diego Padres now.
Grisham's my guy,
formerly of the Brewers.
All right, so that's our postseason hardware.
Just to kind of recap, Dave's the rest of Dave's picks. I want to give him a shout out and thank you, Dave, for chiming in.
Offsite statistician.
He also
Dave
had Kyle Lewis. You mentioned he had Devin Williams.
Solid picks, Dave.
And he says that Angel Hernandez, he's thrown in some memes about how he misses calls. Love it. Offsite statistician Dave Bandich, one of our many Polish friends.
They're all Polish.
Here on
We're outnumbered, SPG.
And he says plus 124 run differential for the Dodgers.
That's good in 60 games,
is that
right?
Good? Yeah,
that's good, right? The next closest team is plus 79. So that tells you what the
what the Dodgers have
relatively
done.
how amazing.
So that's why I say Dave
had.
Roberts.
If I have a second, just one last thing I want to touch on the show, right?
Scout.
Bless and happy trails to one of the GOATs manager-wise in Major League Baseball.
Ron Gardenhire.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Good call.
Ron Gardenhire.
Tip of the cap.
Yeah.
Just like that, we have segued into tip of the cap.
Ron Gardenhire.
To Ron Gardenhire.
Tip of the cap to Ron Gardenhire. I'll give you that one.
And here's an interesting one that John Heyman, I have to give him the credit. You give the credit on Twitter sometimes. John Heyman tweeted,
John Heyman watches the show from time to time.
if Don Kelly takes over for Gardenhire in Detroit, which I think would be a great hire, and Don Kelly, bench coach for the Pirates, if he takes over, that would mean Gardenhire took over his first managerial job from Pat Kelly. And gave up
Tom Kelly. Sorry.
Or Tom Kelly, and gave up his last.
I agreed with you with Pat Kelly.
His last
82nd baseman, stuck in my head.
Number 14.
And would end his career giving it to another Kelly.
That would be really cool.
Ron Gardenhire, the ultimate developmental manager. He did a great job in Minnesota. He did a great job in Detroit. And unfortunately, health took him from the game. And
so,
tip of the cap. Tip of the cap to Ron
Who's your
Gardenhire.
tip of the cap this week, SPG?
This was one that we kind of talked about, and I'll let you elaborate on it because you're the one who initially brought it up.
All right, so we're going to go with the same guy
when we were talking about this, and I may have another one in a second. I got to give it some thought, but Trey Mancini, and I'll let you describe the Trey Mancini tip of the cap.
Yeah, Trey Mancini.
So a couple days ago, Trey Mancini.
Awesome story.
The Orioles, a couple days ago, they took a team photo, and they sent a signed copy to Trey Mancini. Why, you ask? Why isn't Trey Mancini one of the brighter young stars of the game, one of the highly touted prospects in the game? Why isn't he with the Baltimore Orioles this year? Why are they sending him a signed team photo? Well, in March, it got diagnosed that Trey Mancini had stage 3 colon cancer. Young man, very young man to have that going on. But yesterday was a significant milestone for Trey Mancini. Yesterday, Trey Mancini completed chemotherapy.
Rang the bell.
And that's why the Orioles sent him a signed team photo. And that's why on the baseline today, Trey Mancini gets a very heartfelt tip of the cap. Trey, we welcome you back to Major League Baseball. Hopefully this spring training coming up in 2021. Don't rush it back. Please come back whole and healthy and fulfill the prophecy that was Trey Mancini. A lot of young talent on that Orioles team, although it gets mired in their record and in their history of losing over the last few years. There is a lot of bright young Anthony Santanders and Hanser Albertos, and I hope that Trey Mancini comes back.
Wait till you see Adley Rush,
and
man.
joins with those guys, and creates a fun environment again in Baltimore. So tip of the cap. 6 months after being diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer, and then finishing chemotherapy.
Ringing the bell, Trey. Ring the bell.
Ring the bell for Trey Mancini.
I'll give that one another ring, too.
Tip of the cap, Trey Mancini. Good job, Trey. That's our tip of the cap. Time for out of base.
I got one last one. I told you I had to think about it for a second.
Tip them up.
19,568 is the number of players that have played in Major League Baseball in the 145-year history of MLB.
Wow.
That is insane to think about, that number being really, honestly, that's small. I mean, you think about it, that's not even half of Yankee Stadium. If you put
that's a quarter.
It's a third. I mean, if you put every single player that has ever thrown a pitch or even had one at bat in the history of Major League Baseball, it's still less than 20,000. And next season may be the year that we finally see that number tip over 20K. But tip of the cap to the 19,568 players that have played in the major leagues. Insane.
And from the scouts' perspective, tip of the cap to all the boys that didn't make it. Because there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that grinded. There's a lot of guys that grinded and gave up a lot in their lives, and especially with the horrible bargaining agreement that the minor league players have to undertake. So
absolutely.
So last night in the 145 years of baseball history, last night for only the third time in history, the Cubs and the White Sox secured bids to the same postseason. That's only the third time in history that has ever happened in the same season. So the Cubs and the White Sox.
Crazy.
Cubs and the White Sox in the same postseason. Tip of the cap to Chicago.
Not much of a chance for an all-Chicago World Series.
Out of the baseline, and then we're out of here. I got one. How many do you got, SP? Do you got anybody out of the baseline?
Out of the baseline? I don't know. We got the usuals.
I'm going to start with this then.
We threw Angel Hernandez out already. He's always on the list.
We talked about some stuff earlier about the NL East and about why the Marlins are there and why Donnie Baseball is able to be in a second-place position and guaranteed to go. It's because of the Phillies bullpen. That's it. The Phillies bullpen has been the most atrocious thing to watch in sports this
Phillies
year.
bullpen's out of here.
Okay,
Joe Girardi's one of the worst managers there is. But
they are inept. They lead the league in blown saves with 13. That's a 60-game season, folks. 13 blown saves. The team has lost 14 games after leading by at least 2 runs after 5 innings. That is terrible. Their bullpen ERA sits at 7.21, so which subsequently would end the season this year as the worst in Major League Baseball history. So, out of the baseline, Phillies bullpen, get out of here.
You're out of here.
You're out of here.
Angel Hernandez.
You're out of the baseline.
Rob Manfred.
You're out of here.
Caleb, you want to throw somebody out before we're done?
I'm sending Tingler again.
How about Dave Dombrowski, right?
Yeah. Dombrowski, never working baseball again. Gone. All right. Send him out quick. Can you send him quick?
You're out of here.
All right. And then right behind that, because I didn't have the chance to do it, as you brought up before, and I'm happy you did, Gaff. Thank you. Take Jace Tingler. And send him way out of the baseline. Back the fucking boys up.
Gets the boos, too. The chorus of boos.
There it is. Don't turn your back on the boys. I don't care if they killed somebody or anything like that. You back the boys up. You don't go into a press conference and let them air dry.
Stand up for your guys.
Hey, we'd like to thank
Absolutely.
Caleb Kotwicka for his in-depth information
Caleb, for joining
tonight.
us.
Big thanks to SPG. Big thanks to Disruption Network, the D. Check out all of their content at disruptionnetwork.net. You can check out
Great
their
stuff.
brand new merch store.
The new merch store.
I'll
Yes.
put a link to the brand new merch store for Disruption Network. I'll put it in this
We will be
podcast
sharing
here.
that.
We will be sharing it
Take
over
your
and
share
over.
Sharing on the baseline page.
Take your merch, right? Wear it to Delta Lake Inn while you're listening to a podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
I love that.
You know
And
what I'm saying?
big shout
And
out.
you can realistically do that, too.
We're getting moving into the end of the show, and you need to get moving. And if you need to get moving, you can contact EJA Moving Services. They do everything. They have residential, commercial, office moves, anything you need for your big move. EJA is
do it
there
all.
for you. Contact Eddie and the boys at
These cats
ejamoving.com.
moved my parents a few weeks ago.
315-335-0516. Big shout out to EJA Moving, Delta Lake Inn, Connors Way, and Caleb Kotwicka. Thank you
While
for joining
EJA
us.
Moving is moving you, you can go to Delta Lake Inn, listen to the podcast, have a Saranac, have a delicious
See how this
meal.
works out.
It's a beautiful
See how
thing.
this
It's a
works out.
beautiful life.
Thank you, everybody out there, for tuning in, sharing, liking everything that we're doing right now. Big shout out to our guest, man. Awesome to have you in
Happy
in
to be here,
studio.
guys. Thank
Hope
you.
to have you very soon.
Shout out to Dave, our offsite statistician,
Shout out to
for
everybody.
his contributions
and Todd
as
for
always.
staying longer than he was supposed to. We appreciate everybody. We will see you for episode 4, 2 weeks, and we will be smack dab in the playoff run.
Postseason,
Cannot
the
wait.
most unique postseason
Cannot
of our
wait.
lifetimes.
We'll see you guys soon.
Coming soon.
Until then, keep it inside the baseline, folks. See you soon. Bye.
We're out.